Elijah Reynolds, a distinguished 39-year-old FBI special agent, had achieved a lifelong dream by purchasing a 5-bedroom colonial home in the prestigious Westlake Estates of Atlanta. Having risen from humble beginnings in South Chicago, this home represented his personal victory over systemic obstacles. However, his triumph was immediately overshadowed by a hostile reception from his new neighbors. The purchase itself had been a struggle, with real estate agents mysteriously stopping contact and the process taking 3 months, despite his excellent credit and substantial down payment. The fifth agent, Melissa Garcia, had been frank with him, revealing that no Black family had ever lived in that section of Westlake, and that some agents were pressured to prevent such sales. On his moving day, the neighborhood's true character revealed itself. Curtains moved in windows, an older man with military posture photographed his moving truck, and the HOA president, Walter Sullivan, immediately cited him for a minor parking violation. The only friendly faces belonged to the Millers, a younger couple who brought cookies and cautioned him about the old guard. Elijah, an expert in police corruption and civil rights violations, quickly adapted. He installed a state-of-the-art security system, including hidden cameras that recorded everything to a secure cloud server. He memorized his neighbors' routines, noting that retired police chief Gerald Jenkins watched his house daily. A few weeks after moving in, Elijah was called to an urgent meeting at FBI headquarters in Washington, D.C. He was needed to consult on a corruption case involving Atlanta area law enforcement. As he flew out, he had no idea that his 3-day absence would set in motion a chain of events that would change everything. The Neighborhood Watch Group, led by Jenkins, was already actively discussing his absence in their private messaging group. They were suspicious of a Black man with a government salary affording such a house and speculated that he might be involved in something illegal. Jenkins contacted his former colleagues at the local precinct, including Sergeant Victor Conrad, known for aggressive enforcement. On his return, Elijah was exhausted, but looked forward to being in his own home. He was unaware that Jenkins had already called the police non-emergency line, falsely reporting an unknown Black male breaking into his house. The dispatcher sent 2 officers to investigate, and they quickly developed a pretext to escalate the situation. From across the street, Jenkins watched, his phone in hand, as his plan to intimidate Elijah unfolded. Elijah, in his backyard installing security lights, was completely unaware of the approaching danger. He was on the phone with his FBI partner, Maya Chen, discussing new evidence that would connect some interesting dots about the very officers now approaching his home. From their vantage point, Officers Brennan and Miller misinterpreted Elijah's actions, claiming he was tampering with security equipment to disable systems before associates arrive. Sergeant Conrad, their superior, ordered them to approach with caution and called for backup. Soon, 4 police cruisers blocked all potential exit routes from Elijah's property, their headlights creating blinding spotlights. 8 officers emerged, weapons drawn, in a tactical formation typically reserved for armed and dangerous suspects. Police! "Don't move, hands where we can see them," Officer Brennan shouted. Elijah, trained for such confrontations, immediately raised his hands and calmly identified himself as the homeowner, Elijah Reynolds. Brennan, however, was aggressive and hostile. He ordered Elijah to his knees, ignoring his compliance. As Elijah began to lower himself, Officer Miller roughly forced him down. As he lay face down on his own patio, Brennan delivered a sharp knee strike to his back. "Stop resisting," Brennan yelled, a claim that was later proven false by Elijah's security cameras. As they roughly applied handcuffs, Brennan leaned in and whispered a racial slur. As neighbors gathered, Walter Sullivan, the HOA president, pointed dramatically at Elijah and said, "I told you he doesn't belong here." Officer Miller found Elijah's FBI credentials in his wallet, but Brennan, holding up the federal badge, announced loudly, "Look at this fake ID, impersonating a federal officer to the charges." When Elijah tried to state his legal rights and requested they call the FBI field office, Brennan laughed and pocketed the credentials. He then began reading his Miranda rights as he lay bleeding on his own property. Jenkins, the retired police chief, approached and spoke to the officers, claiming he had been watching the house for weeks. His biased statement was accepted as fact. Elijah warned them that they were violating the civil rights of a federal agent and that the entire encounter was being recorded. Brennan responded by pulling him up by the handcuffs, causing him pain. The situation continued to escalate, creating a spectacle of overwhelming force against a single, compliant man. With Elijah still handcuffed and bleeding, officers Brennan and Miller illegally forced their way into his home, without a warrant, kicking down the front door despite Elijah's protests. Brennan created a false justification, claiming reasonable suspicion of criminal activity. Inside, 4 officers with weapons drawn conducted a destructive search. From the porch, Elijah heard the sounds of his possessions being handled roughly and an antique vase, a family heirloom, shattering on the floor. Officer Miller taunted him, making a cruel and racist joke about Elijah's supposed criminal activities. Sergeant Conrad arrived 20 minutes into the search, parking his unmarked vehicle on Elijah's manicured lawn, destroying his flower beds. He joined the illegal search, instructing officers to be thorough and ignoring the constitutional violations occurring. The officers found Elijah's home office, where his FBI credentials, awards, and case files were on prominent display. Conrad emerged holding a framed FBI commendation, which he deliberately dropped on the porch, shattering the glass near Elijah's feet. He mocked Elijah, calling the commendation a forgery, and dismissed his warnings about damaging federal property and interfering with an active investigation. After 45 minutes, Conrad finally authorized a verification call, but only to a desk sergeant at their own precinct, a deliberate delay tactic. All the while, the office's body cameras were recording every violation and inappropriate comment. What they didn't know was that Elijah's own hidden security system was capturing everything, including a hushed conversation between Brennan and Williams about planting evidence if they didn't find anything. Elijah, composed despite his injuries, began to subtly unnerve the officers by making specific references to departmental policies and the timestamp on the incident. At the same time, using a concealed tactical watch, he activated a silent distress signal to the FBI security team. Meanwhile, Assistant Chief Robert Wilson arrived, providing higher-ranking authorization for the misconduct already in progress. The violation of Elijah's rights continued to accumulate, unknowingly building a powerful federal case against them. The atmosphere shifted dramatically when Sergeant Conrad's phone rang with an unknown Washington, D.C. number. He answered with professional formality, but his expression turned to shock as the voice on the other end identified itself: FBI Director Patrick Morgan. The director's authoritative tone carried clearly in the sudden silence, as he told Conrad that he had detained a federal agent, searched his home without a warrant, and caused him physical injury. Agent Reynolds leads our Civil Rights Division's Special Task Force on Police Corruption, the director stated, his voice laced with authority. Every moment of your interaction is being recorded from multiple angles. Conrad's face went pale. He quickly ordered Officer Brennan to remove Elijah's handcuffs. As the cuffs came off, Elijah, still composed, spoke calmly to the director through the phone speaker. "Thank you for the call, Director. I'll provide a full report of tonight's events within an hour." He walked past the stunned officers into his home, a place of extensive destruction. He turned to the officers and, with a subtle shift in demeanor, addressed them as a commanding federal authority. "Officers, please remain exactly where you are. Your body cameras contain evidence relevant to an active federal investigation." He then retreated to his office, retrieving a secure phone from a hidden compartment the officers had missed. He activated a coded message to his partner, Maya Chen, to deploy a response team to his residence. When he returned, he revealed the operation's true purpose. "Gentlemen, you should be aware that tonight's events have been monitored under FBI Operation Code 5628, an investigation into systemic civil rights violations by law enforcement in this jurisdiction. He went on to calmly state that their illegal actions had been expected as they had been under surveillance from the moment Jenkins filed his false report. As Officer Miller tried to leave, he was stopped by Agent Chen and four tactical team members entering the house. All officers will remain on site, Chen announced. By order of the Department of Justice, this is now a federal crime scene. Outside, Assistant Chief Wilson and Sergeant Conrad were caught attempting to tamper with their own department's recording devices. Their conspiracy was being captured in real time by Elijah's security cameras. The power dynamic had completely reversed, and the conspirators were now standing uncomfortably in Elijah's living room while federal agents processed the scene. As the FBI investigation unfolded, Elijah's restored home became the command center for a full-scale federal corruption probe. Interrogation specialists conducted recorded interviews with each involved officer. Under professional questioning, their flimsy justifications for their actions crumbled. Meanwhile, FBI digital forensics experts accessed the officers' text messages, revealing a dedicated group chat called Neighborhood Integrity, where they coordinated enforcement actions specifically targeting minority residents. The messages were filled with explicit racial slurs and chilling discussions about displacement protocol and special welcome protocols for new minority residents. Statistical analysis confirmed the pattern. Enforcement actions in Westlake Estates were 840% higher for minority residents than for white residents under identical circumstances. Financial analysts uncovered unusual payment patterns, tracing a systematic diversion of seized assets from a police fund through shell companies to Wilson, Conrad, and other officers. They discovered a clear pattern of enforcement actions increasing dramatically when minority home ownership in a neighborhood rose above 15%. This would often lead to properties being sold at a loss, only to be quickly purchased by corporate entities connected to Walter Sullivan and Jenkins, and then resold to white buyers at a significant markup. The investigation took a darker turn when it was revealed that Gerald Jenkins' private security company had installed professional-grade surveillance equipment in Elijah's home before he even moved in. They had been monitoring him from day one. A secured folder on Sergeant Conrad's laptop revealed a document titled Property Value Protection Protocols, which contained explicit instructions for selective enforcement and escalation strategies to create maximum discomfort for targeted residents. The district attorney, Michael Hamilton, arrived and demanded the evidence be turned over to his office. But Elijah calmly revealed that Hamilton's own name appeared multiple times in the financial records, creating a significant conflict of interest. Elijah's own comprehensive security system provided the most damning evidence of all, capturing a conversation between officers Brennan and Williams about planting evidence, a tactic they had used in at least one other case. This transformed the investigation from a case of isolated misconduct into a full-blown criminal conspiracy. As the FBI investigation expanded, the conspirators launched a desperate counteroffensive. Thomas Grant, the chief counsel for the police union, arrived at Elijah's home, attempting to shut down the federal questioning. More sinister tactics were also in motion. Elijah's team received alerts of anonymous threats against neighbors who had provided witness statements. Local media outlets, funded by businesses connected to the conspirators, ran coordinated segments questioning the FBI's authority. Mayor Gregory Williams held a press conference to declare the federal operation an unacceptable overreach. Unaware that financial analysts had already documented his own irregular payments from the police forfeit fund. Witnesses began reporting more direct intimidation. Someone spray-painted the word snitch on the Miller family's garage door, and Sarah Miller reported being followed by an unmarked police car. This intimidation only strengthened the federal case, escalating their charges from harassment to hate crimes. When Elijah returned from a meeting, he found racist graffiti spray painted on his own front door and garage. Technical sweeps revealed new surveillance attempts, and cybersecurity specialists discovered attempts to plant false evidence in Elijah's FBI personnel file. The opposition's most elaborate countermeasure came when local news outlets simultaneously reported fabricated allegations that Elijah himself was under investigation for evidence tampering. However, forensic analysis of the department's internal messaging system revealed the entire smear campaign had been planned in their own communications. The conspiracy also extended to physical intimidation, with FBI vehicles being vandalized and agents followed by unmarked cars. The escalation took a dangerous turn when Elijah's security system detected three armed individuals attempting to access his property at 2:15 in the morning. Interrogation of these hired contractors revealed connections to a security company previously employed by Gerald Jenkins, suggesting a home invasion disguised as an attempt to eliminate Elijah. The conspirators, in their frantic efforts to cover their tracks, only revealed the true extent of their organized criminal enterprise, which had operated for over 20 years and extended far beyond Westlake Estates. The conspiracy's intricate wall began to crumble as junior officers, recognizing the overwhelming evidence, began providing testimony in exchange for consideration. Officer Williams confirmed that Conrad personally instructed his unit to make life uncomfortable for undesirable elements. Jenkins' role as the coordinator became clear when financial records revealed his private security company received monthly payments from Sullivan's development group. They had effectively monetized his police connections to maintain the neighborhood's racial composition. A second, more dangerous attempt on Elijah's life was made when his security detail identified a professional-level sabotage attempt on his vehicle, designed to cause a high-speed crash. The final crucial piece of evidence came from Assistant Chief Wilson's offshore financial records, which showed over $11 million in accounts that aligned perfectly with property turnovers in targeted neighborhoods. As the evidence mounted, Conrad tried to flee the country, but it was intercepted at a small private airfield with $600,000 in cash. Elijah, his authority reinstated by the FBI director, now coordinated the final phase of the operation. He held a video conference with his team, summarizing the case. A criminal enterprise operating under the color of law to systematically violate civil rights for financial gain. The team presented a complex organizational chart detailing the 47 conspirators across multiple jurisdictions. The plan's precision was a testament to Elijah's meticulous attention to detail. The synchronized operation began at 4 a.m. with 27 separate FBI teams executing arrest warrants simultaneously. Elijah led the primary team targeting Assistant Chief Wilson at his mansion. "Robert Wilson, you are under arrest for conspiracy against rights, corruption under color of law, and obstruction of justice," Elijah stated, personally applying handcuffs to the man who had authorized his mistreatment. Similar scenes played out across the city, as Conrad, Miller, Jenkins, Sullivan, Hamilton, and Mayor Williams were all arrested. By dawn, all 47 targets were in federal custody, and national news crews were capturing footage of the handcuffed officials. The scale of the operation and the prominence of those arrested generated immediate media attention. The evidence presented in court was overwhelming and irrefutable. Prosecutors displayed financial records, communication logs, and video footage that established the conspiracy beyond a reasonable doubt. Facing the most serious charges, Officer Brennan broke down during his arraignment, claiming he was just following orders to apply different standards in preservation zones like Westlake. His confirmation of discriminatory policies only strengthened the prosecution's case. During a press conference, FBI Director Morgan revealed the operation's true genesis. The investigation, codenamed Operation Clean Sweep, began 14 months ago after statistical analysis identified unusual enforcement patterns. He praised Special Agent Reynolds, who had willingly placed himself in harm's way to trigger and document the conspiracy. This revelation transformed Elijah into a national hero, a symbol of a dedicated agent who had exposed a systematic injustice. The aftermath was transformative. A federal consent decree fundamentally restructured Atlanta's police department, establishing independent oversight and mandatory civil rights training. Property records in previously segregated neighborhoods began to show increasing diversity as the artificial barriers built by corrupt officials fell. Despite the trauma, Elijah made the powerful decision to remain in his home. My presence here represents the rule of law overcoming corruption and discrimination, he told a newspaper. The community itself began to heal, with neighbors organizing reconciliation meetings and diversity committees. 6 months after the arrest, Elijah hosted a neighborhood cookout on his front lawn, the same spot where he had been handcuffed and humiliated. His new security cameras now captured a different scene: children of all backgrounds playing together, and a community slowly but surely rebuilding itself. Elijah was promoted to lead the FBI's new National Task Force on Systematic Discrimination, a unit designed to identify and address similar patterns nationwide. The story of what happened in Westlake Estates became a powerful lesson in how prejudice, power, and profit can corrupt a system meant to serve all citizens. It demonstrated that racial profiling and discrimination can be part of a coordinated, institutionalized effort, and that dedicated individuals can expose and dismantle these corrupt networks.